Hello! So Nintendo's got a new console out. It's this one, the Swintendo Niche. Actually, if you are going to make a rip-off of this, please call it that. That would be funny. So yeah, this is kind of a successor to both the 3DS and the Wii U, because it's a handheld console, and yet, also, you can plug it straight into your telly for more television-based gaming larks. It's trying to take over your whole gaming life, like some sort of incredibly rude uncle. So, this is the box then. Let's have a look at that first. And yes, these are actually quite hard to come by at the moment, and I had to pay quite a lot of money for it. And I'm going to complain about it constantly. I hope you look forward to that. No, joking aside, there's just a lot of words on the box. And on the front you can see the new Joy-Con controller, which is an interesting design we'll get onto, and the Switch itself being put into a dock by somebody with very nice hands. I want to see one of these one day where they've got like a really bad hand model in. It's got like loads of skin hanging off and maybe a badly trimmed thumbnail. Much like that one. I'll do it. Give me £15. I'll sort it for you. And on the back, here's a little hint of what you can do with your Switch. It's like a tablet you can stick the controllers on the side of. And that's pretty much that. Yeah, lots of words in the box stuff. We'll look at that in a minute anyway. So yeah, I've been playing around with it for about a week and I've stuck it all back in the box for you so you can see all the nice bits. So I know you enjoy that, or at the very least you don't complain about it too much. So, it comes with an AC adapter. I know that sounds like something really obvious, but I'm going to be honest with you. Nintendo stuff hasn't been recently. They've been somewhat skimping on the old plugging it into the mains front, so it's nice to see that back. So the Switch itself, the core unit, is like a little tablet. Not the one your grandma takes to stop her dying, but like a kind of Android tablet or a little iPad-y sort of thing. In fact, the technology inside is not massively different. You know, it's got NVIDIA gubbins going on, all the usual stuff. Well, it wouldn't be that different, would it? It wouldn't like work on having parts of dead weasels and magic potatoes in it, would it? Although, Errol, take a note. Magic potato console. Brilliant, can't work on that later. So, it's got a touch screen, and yeah, it's made of a very soft plastic, actually, rather than the usual glass we get on tablet stuff these days, which is a... Well, it's nice in the sense that if you drop it, it's much, much less likely that the screen will shatter. What is not so good is, A, it has a kind of mild static build-up, which means it attracts dust from across the bloody room, and B, scratched really easily, that we shall come on to later. On the side, you've got all these weird bits for the controllers to plug onto. On the top, you've got, well, that's a vent for the heatsink from the CPU there, I presume, or probably the GPU, thinking about it. Volume up and down, power, game card, because the cartridges are very small. Annoyingly, I haven't got a cartridge. Annoying for two reasons. The first reason is, obviously I wanted to play Zelda on it because that's like the big game, and I couldn't get hold of a bloody copy. Seriously, because I didn't pre-order in time or something, they actually physically ran out of pissing copies. So I had to buy it digitally. Now, I hate doing that for multiple reasons. One of them is it uses up like 12 gig of the bloody unit, and it only comes with 32 gig as standard, so thanks. When I've put a card in, we'll come to in a minute, but all the same. And secondly, it's more expensive to buy it digitally, which is a massive problem with digital games all the way across the board for consoles. I had to pay £60 pissing pounds for Zelda, whereas if I'd been able to get it on cartridge, it would have cost 48. And then after I'd completed it, I could have traded it in for money. CEX are currently giving you 43 for it. I'm annoyed. Told you I'd be complaining about that. But also the worst possible thing for me is that the cartridges have a weird taste to them, and I could have licked it on camera and it would have been amusing. So, seriously, that's not a joke. They put a really bitter-tasting chemical, denatonium benzoate, I believe, into it, which kind of makes it taste like it's poisoning you. I mean, it's like a really crazily bitter, unpleasant taste. I suppose the principle behind it is they don't want kids choking on the small cartridges, so make it so disgusting they don't want to put it in the mouth, which is quite an interesting idea. But I have licked another man's cartridge, and I can confirm that they taste bloody disgusting. Right, on the back, I believe they're speaker outputs, and on the bottom, you just have little nubs for it to rest in the dock, and what several people have said is a proprietary USB-type connector Nintendo thing. No, it's not at all. It's a standard USB-C, which if you have one of the modern MacBooks, you will be extremely familiar with and quite annoyed by, I imagine. Right, so that's that. Let's have a look at the Joy-Cons, because they're a con, and it's a joy for Nintendo to con us or something. Ooh, see, this one's Knight Rider, and this one's a Cylon, so that's nice. Yeah, so you've got your little analog nubs here. There's not much travel on them, but you know, it's a handheld thing, so they're not going to stand out much, so you can kind of expect that. You have these tip-top buttons, you got them buttons, you got ones in here you can press, and there's, look, you know how these things work. But intriguingly, you can also slot them onto the side of the old Switch, and away you go for handheld shenanigans. Come on and off, nice and easy. Now, there's also another interesting point to these. They have a sort of rumble thing going on. You know rumble works. There's a little motor in it which rotates and goes brrr in your hand, and it's all a bit disappointing. Well, these are actually better. I think they call it Rumble HD or something. I don't know if I go quite that far. But if you hold them quite tightly, you can actually feel different vibrations. There's a game that uses it called 1-2 Switch, which is kind of the novelty game for it. Imagine... You remember Wii Play for the Wii? Imagine that, but not quite as fleshed out of a thing, and that's kind of 1-2 Switch. It's 2-player only. You're supposed to look at each other and not the screen, which is interesting, and all the games are based around moving these in motion. I've played quite a lot of them. The most impressive for me was one where you have to guess how many marbles are in a box. That's not as rude as it sounds. No, seriously, it's like a box on the screen with marbles, and you go, oh, you could sort of feel how many there were just by moving it, which I thought was quite impressive, actually. Less impressive were most of the others, to be honest. The safe cracking one was all right. There's a bit of a shitty one where you had to pretend you were milking a cow, and it just vibrates slightly, and it's a bit shite. To be honest, 1-2 Switch is a bit crappy, but we'll get onto that later. So, in the box, look, there's a sheet of paper. You can use that for stuff. There's a bit of cardboard to hold up another bit of cardboard. It's the inception of cardboard. Right, here we have a thing. So the idea here is put these in here, and oh my goodness, suddenly you have like a proper, more comfortable controller, which you can use when your Switch is plugged into the television. Ah, that's quite clever, isn't it? This middle bit doesn't really do a whole lot, to be honest. It hasn't got like a battery in it to charge them or anything like that, which is a shame, although I believe you can spend more money to get one that does, but we'll not go into that. You can also buy a Pro controller. Now, the Pro controller is much nicer. It's a really nice controller, actually. Had a really nice feel to it. I extensively played Zelda on it at like a pre-launch event, and it's much, much nicer to play on than these because there's much more sort of travel in them. These aren't bad, don't get me wrong, but it's a nicer experience from the Pro controller. The Pro controllers are fucking expensive. You're talking like 60 quid or something, and obviously it's going to be hard to use them on the move. This does have a stand, which you can flip up like that. So if you're like on a train or something, you could pop it up and then have your thing in your hand and play. But let's face it, you're going to be using the handheld one. Plus, it's a small sort of screen, so you don't want it to be that far from your face, do you? Oh, I meant to mention, by the way, that's where the SD card goes in for memory expansion. I put a 32 gig one in there. It cost me £12, which isn't bad, but, you know, it's still more expense on top of what you paid for the console already. Also, the Pro controllers and these Joy-Cons can all be used on Windows, Android and Mac, which really surprised me. You can't use them as like separate controllers like you can on the Switch, but you can use it as one unit, so to speak, unless somebody releases a third-party program which sorts that out. So yeah, storage is a bit small then. I should mention that before I forget. As I said, the digital download for Zelda was over like 12 gig. I mean, you can get the SD cards cheaper, but it is all extra expense, isn't it? And all saves and stuff are saved on the system memory because the cartridges for the Switch are read-only. There is no data that goes on them whatsoever. But they're also all region-free, so that is a bonus. Anyway, back to the box. Ugh. Usbc Charger. That was exciting, wasn't it? There's an HDMI cable in there, blah, blah, blah. These are interesting. Little end caps for the old bits and bobs here. How am I getting this? Am I putting this in backwards? I think I am. Let's try this one. Oh, I feel like I've still got it on backwards. Oh, bloody hell. It's probably locked now and I'll never get it. Oh, God, I actually can't release it. What have I done? Oh, the lock's on. Oh, bloody hell. This has turned much fiddly. I haven't used these things before, as you can probably tell. Come on. Oh, God. I've ruined everything. Jump cut. Sorted. The pluses lined up. You see, that's the sort of thing you'd more easily notice if you weren't constantly talking crap for the amusement of people on the internet. Anyway, yes, you can now use them as two separate little controllers, which isn't the most ergonomically fantastic thing, but hey, it's a nice little bonus. So, you know, you don't have to shell out a fortune other than the fortune you shelled out for the consoles. This is quite pricey, considering the horsepower it's got behind it. About £280, which is quite a lot of spondylics, which is a word which I think means money that I haven't thought of for many years, and yet suddenly popped back into my head. Anyway, let's look at the dock then. Now, this isn't just a shell to drop your Switch into to run it through the telly. It has some guts of its own. It actually has a little bit of GPU and power boost in it, so when it upscales the resolution for the television, it has more oomph. Well, that's the theory at least. You can open it up and then plug in the AC and the USB and the HDMI out. That's not very exciting. But the good news is this slots in very quickly and easily, which is important because, you know, you just want to be able to walk past and go, bam, 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 bam. There we are. It's slotted in. And you don't have to piss around locking things in place and that. You can just immediately put it in and away you go. Now, I'm doing that very sheepishly, and I'll tell you for why. Can you see the great red dragon and the woman clothed with the sun? Do you see? No. Can you see the little ridges here to hold it in? Yeah, look a little bit sharp, don't they? Well, they're not that sharp, but they still do scratch the fucking screen. I shit ye not, comrades. Seriously, the screen's so bloody soft that you put it in, and these will scratch it, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, couldn't they have made it, you know, a little bit fluted in that direction? Like a kind of switch funnel to drop it in? I can't get my head around that at all, so yeah, you may want to use a screen protector. Although, here's another great bit. Screen protectors aren't working too well, particularly the cheaper ones, because the Switch gets quite hot in use, and it kind of melts the glue that holds these things on. So that's great, isn't it? And also, for God's... Oh, I nearly forgot this, right? Do not put stickers or wraps on these things in any way. They may look cool, but it damages the bloody surface. The adhesive, like, takes all the surface off the Switch, so don't be doing that. It is a badness and will destroy your life in many ways. So yeah, I mean, the design of this is quite nice, but the God, you've got to be so careful of this bloody thing, or you've just scratched the screen of your incredibly expensive new toy, which is a massive pisser. So let us talk about games then. I made the fatal error, incidentally, of recording a load of Zelda footage through the dock, then remembered you can't use footage of Nintendo games on YouTube, or they just claim your video and take all the money from it. Because, well, I think Nintendo don't like things that don't make them money directly, so let's put it that way. You can sign like some sort of agreement with them to give them 20% of your revenue from the video, but no YouTuber is going to be signing weird agreements with huge corporations. I don't think that's really a thing, guys. But don't worry, because I'll be drawing pictures of the game, which will be just as good as proper screenshots. Right, I'm going to be honest, that's probably not going to work. Anyway, yes, very few launch titles for this. I mean, really very few. Even Ubisoft, who usually, you know, cast a million weird games at every launching bloody console that's ever existed. They're only giving us Just Dance this time. So, why didn't I write this down? I'm now going to try and remember all the launch games to Switch. Zelda Breath of the Wild is the one everyone's excited about, a big open-world Zelda game. Get onto that in a minute. There's one to Switch, which I mentioned earlier, which, frankly, is a fucking insult, I'll be honest with you, because they've released it for £40 on cartridge, and it's like barely a thing. It's like a vaguely amusing party game that's very simple. It's simpler than like Wii Play and much simpler than Wii Sports and that kind of stuff. I cannot believe they've released it for £40 fucking pounds. It's absolutely unbelievable. There's the Skylanders out, and whatever the latest one is, where you can, I don't know, customise your Skylanders, who wears a different hat or something, and also it costs £10 more on Switch than it does on any other system, so thanks for that, guys. I'm trying to think, there's another one. There's definitely another one that's been released on car. It's Super Bomberman. Yes, Super Bomberman, which is quite a nice version of Bomberman, but, you know, in this day and age, do we really want to be spending 45 quid for another bloody version of Bomberman? It feels like something you should be, you know, downloading for 10 quid off it or something. There's a load of download titles. I Am Setsuna is surprised me, because I thought that was coming out on cartridge, but no, that's a digital download only. which is like one of these JRPGs, kind of a bit of a throwbacky one. Can't see that being very popular over here, to be honest, but who knows. And there's some old indie games like Shovel Knight and stuff, which frankly you've probably been playing for years anyway. And there is going to be Binding of Isaac, which I know is an old indie game, but it's fucking amazing. Although it's not out for like another week now, I think, so it's a couple of weeks, so it's not a launch game. Why am I mentioning it? I've ruined everything. Sorry, guys. I've just seen... Do you know... I just remembered something. You know, we mentioned Just Dance earlier. I actually wrote on a piece of paper the prices for Just Dance 2017, okay? It's been released on Wii, Wii U, PS3, PS4, 360 and Xbox One, and all of those are £20 each. The Switch version is £40. Yeah, I know, right? Let's just try and get that out of our minds so that we don't explode with anger. Yeah, and I think that's it. It's just like 5... was that 5? Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, 5 actual cartridge games out for it at launch, but a few more to download. And there's a few old things like Neo Geo games and stuff, but we'll get onto that. So... let's talk about Switch games then, specifically, and it's going to pretty much have to be Zelda Breath of the Wild, because it's the most visually impressive game out for it, and the only one I have played extensively. Though, actually, I did play a game which hasn't been released yet. I played ARMS quite a lot, which is like a sort of fighting game with a lot of sort of motion controls in and out and that. And yeah, I'm kind of surprised they're releasing that as a full-price game as well, because it kind of felt like a tech demo for the Wii Motion Plus, to be brutally honest with you. You know, those things you would plug into the bottom of the earlier Wii remotes to actually make your fucking Wii work like it looked like it did in the adverts on day one. Yeah, I still haven't forgotten that, Nintendo. Humph. Anyway, let's go on to Zelda, because it's bloody great. Yeah, I'm not a Zelda man at all. Don't like the 2D ones, never particularly enjoyed them. I played Ocarina of Time for a bit and got bored when you were inside that big fish and had to throw around the fish princess, who was like a sort of block. I don't know. Not my kind of thing, but I'm really liking Breath of the Wild. And I'm not really a fan of open world games in general either, but something about it has caught my imagination. Maybe it's because I haven't played an open world game for bloody years, and I'm quite liking the sort of sedate pace to it. It is a nice game. Also, Link is now Spider-Man, and he can just sort of climb anything. And also, every single person in the land of Hyrule makes the shittest fucking weapons imaginable. Seriously, you can get like a soldier's sword, hit like 5 times with it, and it fucking shatters. I don't know what's going on, but it's good fun. It's a very good game, and that's all we'll be saying on that, because, you know, we're here for the hardware. Now, hardware. So, yeah, this is where it gets interesting. So, your Zelda is running at 720p, which is the resolution of the mighty screen built into the Switch, and that is in your handheld mode. And, of course, you can plug it in through the dock and play it through your television, which should be better, but I'll be honest, it kind of isn't. It upscales it to... No, it doesn't upscale it, sorry. It starts running it at 900p, so you're talking about 50% more pixels. So... problem there is 900p isn't actually a resolution most televisions can run at natively, because it's a really weird one. You know, everyone's going to be pretty much 1080 or above these days. So your docked mode stuff is always going to be a little bit soft because it's been upscaled visually. Again, not a massive problem, but the only real difference in visual fidelity is that the filtering effect on the ground is very slightly better in docked mode, and that's like it. That's the only difference you can notice. And I only know that because I saw Digital Foundry's video on it. I hadn't even bloody noticed, and I've played extensively on both versions. Now, we're getting into the technical problems here, because it actually runs smoother in handheld mode than it does through the bloody dock, which is crazy. This thing drops down to about 20 frames per second when it's through the dock, on quite often actually when you're fighting and running through long grass and stuff, whereas this runs rock solid 30 frames a second all the bloody time in handheld mode. Weird. Better in portable. All you're getting out of that really is a very slight increase in visual fidelity, which isn't going to look as good because you're going to be further from the television rather than the 720p screen right in your face. And yeah, it just doesn't run as well. It's very, very strange. It's kind of the opposite of what they advertised. The theory behind it, or the best anyone's come up with so far, is, yeah, 50% more pixels running through that, but there's only 20% more memory bandwidth, so a bit of a bottleneck going on there, perhaps. It's very odd. I wonder if it's because the game is essentially a Wii U game, which has been converted to Switch. It was in development for the Wii U for bloody donkey's years. And, you know, I can't feel, but we haven't really seen what the Switch hardware can do as yet. And incidentally, a lot of people have said, oh, if only you could set the dock to run at 720p and it'd be like smoother. Well, actually, you can set it to run at 720p in the settings. The weakness is, wait for it, makes no difference. It still seems to be running it at 960 and just downscales it. Also, do you know, something has just bloody occurred to me. When I went to the pre-launch event for this, the Nintendo guy told me specifically it would run at 60 frames a second in both handheld and docked mode when it was released, and it bloody doesn't. It's 30. I thought that sounded off at the time. God, I'm glad I didn't say anything about that to anyone. I'd have looked like a right idiot. Deary me. And something else has just occurred to me, right? You know, we were looking at this earlier. Imagine you're putting it like that. This is the one flimsy feeling bit of it. You want to be very careful. You don't try and put it in the Switch absent-mindedly, because I reckon shove that in there hard enough, that would snap off. Well, that's a thing, isn't it? Other technical things, you can only have one save game per profile on Zelda, which has upset some people, but I'll be honest, it's so easy to make another profile and switch between them, I don't think it really makes any difference. Now, what is not good, and is frankly massively fucking regressive from the customer's point of view, is that there is no way to get your save data off Switch. That's it. There's no cloud saves. There's no way to transfer it. If you're halfway through Zelda and it breaks or something goes wrong, you place it under warranty, tough shit, son. You're going to lose everything on it. There is literally no way to transfer data. I mean, even the bloody Wii U had a system. It was pretty shit, wasn't it? If I remember, you had to actually transfer all the data for a game. So you couldn't just, like, save your saves from something. If it was a digital download game, you had to put all the data, the game and everything across, which is kind of crazy. But it's a lot better than not being able to do it at all. So, you know, why are you so fucking far behind Microsoft and Sony on this, Nintendo? It's not good. They're also going to have some sort of paid online service for games, aren't they? Or playing games online. I don't know. They haven't really released details of it yet. And game chat is going to be done through a phone app or something, which seems like absolute mentalness to me. Anyway, we should probably turn it on. Let me pop the old devices in. Switch these back on the side. Something I do like is that these come on and off very easily, as you try and stick it upside down the wrong one, of course. And also, quite importantly, they feel really bloody solid, which is nice. So you turn it on. I'm not going to show the game, Nintendo. Don't try and destroy me with your orbital laser cannons. Right. So press the same button 3 times. That's the entire of the Zelda game. Not really. Oh, no! Shit! Oh my god, I accidentally showed some game footage there. Bloody hell, I'm asking to be destroyed. Right, so you've got various options from the front here. You can play your game that we've got going on. I've got that suspended in the background with my sexy, sexy avatar. There's news. What's the news, guys? You can get fast RMX racing, which is kind of a bit F-Zero-y. What happened to F-Zero? I really wish they'd do an F-Zero game. Do a new one with online racing, and that'd be great. Get to grips with a Nintendo Switch. I've got one in my hands. I've kind of done that. And there's just all stuff you can buy with money, because, you know, that's how these things work. There's the eShop. We'll have a look at that in a minute. There's an album. Oh, yeah, you can just save screenshots, really. That was quite useful, I suppose. Various settings for your controllers, your system settings, and yeah, that's it. There's not a whole lot going on in the menus. When you look at things like the 3DS and that, they seem to have an awful lot of gubbins, but they've kind of pared it right back, which may be a good thing, because I remember not actually using anything on the other menus particularly. Right, who is using Nintendo eShop? Sexy, sexy Stu, of course. Right, this should now load using the power of the internet. Calming. Right, what can we buy then? Take all my money, Nintendo. Oh, wait, you already fucking did for your fucking digital download of Zelda, because I couldn't get a fucking physical cartridge, and I still feel ripped off about it. Ooh, 15 rated video now. Right, what have we got then? Coming soon. Splatoon 2, how soon? To be determined. ARMS, to be determined. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, to be determined. I'm really hoping Splatoon and Mario Kart are kind of sufficiently upgraded and not just kind of ports of the Wii U ones. I don't know how that's going to work. They were running at the event, but I didn't get a chance to have a play on them, so Right, what we got in the recent releases, guys? There is an old Neo Geo game. That's NARM 1975, if I remember. It's 1976. That's going to annoy me. No, it is 1975. 1976 is the year I was born, which is where I got confused. Right, there's Zelda, which we've got going on. There's a version of King of Fighters, for crying out loud. 40 quid for 1-2 Switch. You know which bloody hole you can shove that up? The answer is whichever one will hurt you the most. Oh, Waku Waku 7. I do like Waku Waku 7, but I'm not paying 6 quid for an old Neo Geo game that I probably won't play that much, and I can play for free on like a million emulation systems. There's Shovel Knight, just in case you're one of the 3 people in the world who has yet to play it. It's a version of Othello. Just Dance there. Snipper Clips. I really wanted to play Snipper Clips, and I still haven't quite got my head around it. It looks like quite an interesting puzzle game. It looks like fun. Here's a game called Vroom in the Night Sky. I don't know what that is, but I love the concept. And Fast RMX. 17 quid for a fairly bare-bones racing game. I don't know what this one is. Vose. Colourful Voice. So it's, what? Oh, it's a colourful rhythm game. And it looks like that. That looks like everything on Steam 5 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Right, let's pop that down. Battery life isn't bad, by the way. You get a few hours out of it. It's not going to set the world on fire, but you're not going to be stuck in the middle of nowhere without your Zelda. And most times, I would have said. Plus, a nice thing is, since it's USB-C, it's relatively easy to get like a big, battery you can take with you and just charge it off that. So that's quite a good thing, isn't it? And it does have a headphone socket. Hey, Apple, remember those? You bastards. So, there we go. That's the Switch. It's such early days. I mean, you can't really make any sort of informed opinion on it, really. You've got a version of Zelda which inexplicably doesn't run as well through the more powerful hardware. And that's pretty much it for what's exciting. Something that's really confused me on this, actually, is that a lot of people have been buying the Switch just for Zelda. The thing is, the Wii U version is still pretty bloody good. It looks very similar to the point where you can't really tell the difference. The frame rate is about the same as the docked version, right, but in different places. It's really fucking weird. Like, it'll run rock solid at 30 on certain bits on Wii U and not on Switch docked, and then vice versa. It's very, very, very strange. Going forward, after the Wii U, there is that third-party worry that's, where's the games, guys? We've got the few Nintendo ones we like, but where's everything else? And there is that worry that, like with the Wii U, the hardware may end up being slightly too weak to handle the direct ports from, PS4 and Xbox One and that, so the developers just don't kind of bother, There's a big worry, actually. They're releasing Skyrim, because, there's like this new version of Skyrim, and it's all got, it's all visually enhanced and all much better, and it's all going to be super duper. And they will not be drawn on whether it's that version or the original version of Skyrim. And I mean, the original's over bloody 5 years old now. And if you can't play an enhanced version of it, that's a bit of a worry. So yeah, as far as we can see so far, really, it's less of this kind of totally, wow, take over the room, do different things, blah, blah, blah thing. It's more just kind of a handheld that you can plug into your telly. And until that dock actually makes a considerable visual difference on the games, it is just going to be an easy way to plug it into a television, as opposed to, something that's going to actually be on the move and in the living room. But there we are. Who knows what the future brings? Mystic Meg, if you're wondering. Whatever happened to her? God, she had huge collars.
Subscribe for more.